podcast Displaces, the hour by adding to the Monday.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kamen Up Next podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, a giant robot. I'm joined, as always, by my co-hosts Jesse
Yo.
and Nick.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to be talking about Kamen Rider 01 episodes 16 to 19. So yeah, I think we should just jump right into it.
So episode 16. Episode 16 starts up with, when we left off, we were in the midst of an epic clash between Metsubo Jinrai and our protagonists. And this episode starts up with Izu linked up with Satellite Zaya in that whole binary matrix-like dimension, white space. And it's actually kind of a beautiful opening scene because she gets caught up on the events. So the episode recap is her getting filled in with what's going on because she was kind of out of commission with Jin shooting the tentacle into her. So she gets caught up on what's going on, and then we.
That.
Well, we could word it a different way.
No, this is all staying in. Just continue. We're good.
All right.
What
Then
are you doing, Step Humagir?
we then cut to 01's new form, Shining Assault Hopper, fighting Jin plus a couple of Geigers. And we finally get to see that form in action. And the two Geigers distract 01 enough that it gives an opening to Jin to use Hirobi's poison key in his attaché weapon. I think it was the attaché arrow that he actually uses and uses
a shotgun, I think.
It might have been the shotgun.
Yeah.
He uses like a sting attack using the poison key and smacks 01 into a building. And then things are looking pretty bad for 01. Two Geigers are coming down on him. And he's like, at which point Aruto gets sent into that same Zaya white space dimension where Izu shows up and tells him about the Shine system, which is a combat system that he has in his new form. And they have a cute moment while they're in there. And he comes back and shreds the Geigers with his new Shine system activated, and then deals with Jin in what turns out to be a really cool clash of rider kicks, which we can talk about in a bit. Aruto winds up defeating Jin. He gets the Flying Falcon key back, and it seems like Metsubo Jinrai is done and dealt with, at least for now. Then we see Guy walking into Metsubo Jinrai's lair, and he takes two newly printed keys from the ARC printer. And then we go on to resolve a couple more plot threads from the last episode. For example, Izu's restored and back in action, and the emergency board meeting to boot out Aruto gets resolved quickly in that no one except for the vice president winds up voting for Aruto to get booted. And even he has to back out and pretend that he was scratching his head. So it's a unanimous vote to keep him in power because he's a hero. Then we get Yua going back to Ames. So she actually has to split from Ames to go back to Zaya because the mission's over. Metsubo Jinrai's dealt with, but she goes back to Ames and drops off Hirobi's corpse, which is healed, repaired.
Yeah.
And Guy also when she winds up going back to Zaya, Guy gives her a monologue about how he actually was the one that made ARC and also pulled an Ultron on it and made it hate humanity by feeding it info about our criminality and all that stuff. And then that kind of gives us a little bit about who Guy is as a person. He's cocky and he uses everyone around him as pawns. So with that, we get the resolution of the whole Metsubo Jinrai thing, and so we're soaking it all in. Our protagonists are out about in town, and I think it's a Christmas episode, this one, right? It's kind of Christmassy, and they're just out and about in town, and everyone's jovial. And so we'd expect there'd be no more Magia since Hirobi and Jin are defeated, but then all of a sudden, as soon as you're expecting that everything's going to be peaceful, there's a double Magia attack. There's Dodo and then the frog one come attack the middle of town.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what the? I thought we dealt with these guys, so what the hell's going on? But then Fua and Aruto henshin, and we get Vulcan and Shining Hopper just easily dispatching the Magia. But the Magia aren't the threat here. The real problem is why were there Magia in the first place? And the public starts freaking out. And there's this emergency press conference that takes place where the press are challenging Hidden Intelligence, like, what the hell is going on? I thought you dealt with Metsubo Jinrai. Does this mean that the Humagear are not safe in the end? And as Aruto's being faced by all these tough questions, he's not able to answer. Guy walks in, ever the asshole, and announces that, yeah, this is a problem. Don't worry, because Zaya is going to take over Hidden Intelligence. He places a takeover bid,
A TOB.
a TOB for Hidden Intelligence. And that's like one of the cliffhangers we're left with. And then right at the end of the episode, we get a shot of Hirobi waking up.
Yeah, coming back online.
In the Ames like detention center with his eyes glowing blue.
Mm-hmm.
And we also see Guy just chilling in his chair holding a driver.
I have approximately 17,000 notes on this episode. So
The only thing I have is that I love the piano rendition of the opening theme that played during the board meeting.
it's really good. I like when they do that for the theme songs. They have like a sad piano version. I think Xaid had one for Excite as well.
Yeah. X8 definitely had a good like OST.
Yeah. That's
that.
one of my notes is the fight music is a banger.
Oh yeah, Shining Assault Hopper's like
It's
combat
like,
music, or
yeah,
even Shining Hopper's combat music is really,
It's-
really good.
really good.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it. His axe is super cool when he's in Shining Hopper mode. You can turn his attaché into an axe instead of a sword, which I think is really fun.
Now see, I thought that was the attaché Buster that turned into the axe somehow.
No, because it was also yellow. The Buster is blue, and
It was-
his
The axe is like yellow and blue, I think. Kind of like the Assault Shining Assault Hall perform.
Yeah,
maybe it's both
and
of them combined.
It's
Maybe.
actually like the axe actually has like a cool little grasshopper on it.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty dope.
It might be a combination of the two of them.
Either way, it's sick.
It's sick as hell.
I think it is the Buster because when he uses the axe, he does like it does say like ready for Buster. That's
Yeah,
one of
it's
my
like
notes.
Buster bomber.
True.
Yeah, it's a Buster bomber.
Maybe you're right. Not maybe you're right. You're right. Probably, most likely.
So maybe.
So maybe. Okay, we can just go down my list. I've got Aruto is mad. He was really pissed off fighting Jin. Probably because he thought Izu was gonna die.
He got noticeably less pissed after he like saw Izu in the Zaya uplink.
Yeah, that helped for sure.
Yeah.
It was definitely the most pissed we've ever seen Naruto, and it wasn't just like Izu. It's like
Well, it was like everything.
well, Jin's like trying to say he's friends with
Yeah, all
Humagear, but then he
Humagear.
goes and corrupts Humagear, and Naruto's like, "Bro, you're no better.
Yeah.
Like you hurt Humagear to make your goals happen."
Yeah, I have the note where Izu and Naruto are talking in Zaya, and I think they do a pinky promise type
They
of
do.
thing. Yeah. So I have that noted. It was adorable.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's one of the. It's not one of the first times, but it's definitely one of the times that they did like the Aruto Janaito together because Aruto
yeah.
said, like he made the pun about the shine system. He
Yeah.
said like it took a shine on me or something like that.
She's just like
was awesome.
she's getting better at it as time goes on.
She's starting to figure out how to do bad jokes on her own.
Yeah. She's getting the hang of it on her own. I have here well, first I have he's so strong what? Because Aruto is just incredibly strong. Or at least like Shining Hopper or Shining Assault Hopper is incredibly strong. Didn't he just took out 2 Geigers, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
once he
once
activated the shine system.
Yeah, he comes back and he destroys 2 Geigers like nothing.
Yeah, so the shine system actually winds up making these glowy crystals that he can
So-
like
Oh,
manipulate
that's right.
at
That's
will.
how that happens. That's the genesis of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the shine system,
like-
and those
it's like
glowy
hard-
crystals.
It's like hard light technology where they're made of light, but they're like solid.
Yeah, and they're evidently extremely powerful. and
Pretty
he can
strong.
manipulate them
Yeah.
to
and
just
fly
shred
around.
things.
You use them to block attacks too. I
I
believe.
don't know if does he use them to also fly, or does he just get the ability to fly as Shining Assault Hopper?
I assumed Shining Assault Hopper could fly.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That was my assumption, but I could be wrong about that.
Because like he only starts flying once he activates the shine system.
It might have just been like a really big jump,
That also could be.
like a really good jump.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Hulk, how he just like jumps and it looks like he's flying, but he just jumped really far.
01 does jump pretty big.
He does do pretty big jumps. I might have been misreading some of the subtitles because I was also taking down so many notes, but I have Jin somehow reinforces Aruto's belief in human gears. Because somehow in Jin's speech about how humanity needs to be extinct or whatever, I believe I saw Aruto just be like, yeah, that's a typical human gear for you or something like that.
Yeah,
I might have
I
been
actually-
misreading.
No, you didn't. I actually remember how that unfolded. And so what happened was Jin was saying how humanity needs to be extinct, and Aruto was saying, I envision a future where we can coexist and everything.
Right.
And Jin was saying that can't happen. And then Naruto just basically says, why? And then Jin doesn't really have the right answer for it and says, that's what Hirobi taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the moment where Naruto says, that's a typical human gear. You're basically doing
What you were taught.
what you were taught. And
Yeah.
if your learning phase had gone differently, if you were taught differently, we wouldn't be fighting each other right now. Like he acknowledges that.
That's right.
Yeah, he said like we could have been friends instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's when they have that clash of the rider kicks right after. And I think, you know what? I don't remember seeing Jin's finisher before this. I think this is the first time that we actually see him do his finisher.
It's the first time because I took it down. Desolate Falconry. It's a pretty cool name.
Desolate Falconry. Yeah, we haven't seen that before.
It's a pretty cool name.
That is pretty dope. I don't know if that's just the translation, but it's really, really good.
Well, I mean, no, I think it says it in English. It says Des.
I don't know.
Because most of the finishers are in English.
Yeah.
Because also we have Aruto's, which is Shining Assault Impact, which is in
That's
English.
true.
So I think it said it, but I can't remember exactly. I guess Jin is dead.
Yeah.
Seems like he is. Yeah.
It seems like an anticlimactic ending for Jin, so I'm just going to leave it open and say there's the possibility of him coming back, because there was that whole arc that seemed to be aimed towards turning Jin into something or pointing his worldview in a particular direction. It just gets resolved like, so it's like,
Arc definitely wanted something out of Jin, which is why it told Hirobi to sacrifice himself so that Jin could survive and reach singularity.
yeah.
So,
But- Then again, we now know that this was all kind of like engineered by Guy, so who knows? Like,
well, so the thing about Guy, right, is he's constantly saying like, oh, this is going exactly what his scenario. He's like, the scenario is going exactly how I planned. But like, is it like, do we know for sure that this is what he planned? Like
no, I mean we don't.
He's always, the feelings I get from him is he's kind of just making it up as he goes. And the only basis I have for that is that like he says like, oh, he's the one that made Zaya Japan like as big as it is, but it's also just a branch of an American company that he is just the CEO of that branch of the company. Like he didn't create the company, he's just running a part of it, and now he wants to acquire Hiden which again, he's just acquiring something that somebody else made. Even when it comes to, like, he says it is this episode where he reveals that he helped create the arc. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's the one that fed it all the information
Yeah,
to make it evil.
he all he says is, yeah, he's just the one that made it evil, but it's like he also had help doing that. So I don't know, like to me it always feels like he's just talking out his ass. And he's like, the
yeah, but we don't
scenario is
really
going.
we don't know that for sure. We don't know much about him.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, the information given to me, it feels like he's just talking out of his ass, and he's lying to everybody to make them believe that he knows what he's doing, just because he thinks he's better than everybody.
Yeah, I will
That's
say that
my vibes that I get.
and you're right. And I think for Guy specifically, he's an interesting antagonist in far as Kamen Rider, insofar as Kamen Rider, because I don't think I've seen someone quite like that before, where he really walks that line between,
Yeah.
are you a villain or are you just the jerk? You know, like
yeah, he is pretty, like, he's very gray in that
yeah.
regard.
I mean, being the same writer as X8, I kind of see him kind of similar to Dan Kuroto, but like way less likable.
Yeah, he's definitely way less likable.
Well,
than,
yeah, he's way less likable than Dan
Although early Dan Kuroto was pretty
I
not
would-
likable.
I would say, though, Dan Kuroto he never, like, I don't think Dan Kuroto was ever gray. Like, you always knew.
Yeah, you knew where he stood.
Like, I would say, like, 95% of the time you knew exactly what he was doing, and he was pretty much always a bad guy, even.
Well, his allegiances were to himself.
Yeah,
always.
he was working with the good guys, but those were for his own benefit.
It definitely wasn't clear at the beginning, like what.
Oh yeah, well, but as soon as you found out, then there was never any question. Even when he seemed to be working with the good guys and being friends and, like, you know, becoming buddy with them, I always just assumed that he was still just evil.
Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with Dan Kuroto never having like a redemption arc.
Yeah.
I think that suited his character really well, and actually wound up making Dan Kuroto, you know, the character that we know and love.
It honestly made him even more likable. The fact that he never got a redemption arc. I think I would have liked the show a lot less if he got a redemption arc. So,
yeah. But Amatsu Guy so far,
he's the same in that I guess his allegiances are just with himself, but he's definitely more gray in the, is he actually evil or is he just kind of a dick and wants
I do get
to
that he's like, what I gather is that he's extremely cocky.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
To the point where it is going to be his downfall. Like the fact that he thinks he can just pull the strings and manipulate everyone, including Metsubo Jinrai, Hidden Intelligence, any like Yaiba and Fua, like Ames, like he just feels like everyone is there that he can pull the strings for. And eventually something's not going to go according to plan. And it's already kind of starting to unfold where things aren't going exactly as he planned. And in the episodes that follow, we get kind of glimpses at, you know, I don't think he calculated like this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes interesting.
I gotta say, I don't see a world where he has redemption and becomes like a good guy. I guess with Gentoku it was kind of the same. Like I never expected that, so who knows?
But at the same time, I don't see Guy anymore as being, you know, the big bad anymore. You know, like with what we saw, and we're going to go into the following episodes, it seems like he's this cocky CEO that has like this personal vendetta against Hedon and whatever, and he's driven by his own motivations. But it doesn't seem like he's going to be our final villain as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's way too early for them to be giving us the final villain anyways, in my experience. So
yeah, I think, well, if I were to guess, I think Arc is probably going to be the bad, you know, like the evil AI that got freaking Ultron. I think that's a pretty good bet for, you know, at least one of the bads that we're going to face. I don't know if it's going to be the final one, but we'll see.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Do you have anything else for this episode, Zach, or do we move on to the next one?
Yaiba works for Guy, but this episode shows she's starting to question, maybe not her allegiances, but question his motives, especially as he starts revealing more and more to her about what's going on, especially when he tells her about Ark and everything. She's definitely like more and more questioning
Yeah, I mean,
what he's doing.
he basically tells her that he's kind of responsible for Metsubo Jinrai's birth, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
And which is, like her friendship with Fua at that point when she finds that out is like, I'm sure she wants to tell him about it, but she's aligned with Guy, so she can't, and it just creates more tension between her and Fua. And yeah, I thought that it was interesting that we really start seeing those moments of Yaiba just like questioning, maybe not questioning, but she's definitely like not happy with Guy. I also Fua takes back the assault trigger. Was it trigger? What did they call it?
Grip. Assault grip.
The grip. He takes it back from Aruto.
Yeah, he's like, hey, this is mine.
He literally
you're right.
grabs the key out of Aruto's hand, takes the grip off, and gives Aruto back the key and puts it on his key.
That's when they were fighting the two Magia, right?
Yeah. I also have Axe Rise written down.
Okay, cool.
Assault Charge.
All very cool things. That whole clash and the whole Shining Assault Hopper like abilities with the glowy crystals and everything, that was all fantastic. And Jesse actually made a point to say while we were watching it that was probably the best CGI fight, like full CGI fight that we've seen in Kamen Rider period. So
usually the CGI scenes look absolutely atrocious. Thinking back to like literally the finale of Build.
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, there was some really bad CGI, a whole suit that was CGI.
A whole form that was ruined. Yeah.
It did not look good. But this really was impressive.
So we can move on to episode 17.
All right. Episode 17 kind of marks the beginning of a new arc. So the episode gives us a recap that, because I think there was a holiday break between last episode and this one. So the episode gives us a little recap that Zaya/Guy wants to take over Hedon. And then right away we see a commercial for Zaya's new product, the Zaya Spec, which is like this next gen human AI interface that gives humans AI processing capabilities. And then Guy's sitting down having tea with Aruto and Izu, and he kind of boasts about the Zaya Spec's boosted sales over the Humagear because there's the whole PR fiasco with the Humagear. So he says, we can talk about like the quip that's made by Aruto there later. But
Let's talk about it right now. I love it.
My note for it is Aruto murders Guy.
Yeah, guys, just like, oh, we're up 700 something percent on sales, and Aruto's like, oh, you're not at 1,000.
Yeah, not 1,000%. And you could see actually Guy's actor is actually pretty good because in that moment you could see that like with the holding back of the rage in his face.
Yeah, he was so pissed.
It was really good. It was really good.
It was well done. So at that point, Guy basically proposes a competition between the Zaya Specs and the Humagears. And basically, if Hedon wins, if the Humagears win, no takeover. And if the Zaya Spec wins, obviously that's great PR for Zaya and everything. So it's just a win for Guy. He's cocky. He doesn't imagine there's a world where he's possibly going to lose this competition. So the competition is going to be 5 rounds, Humagear versus Zaya Spec master of some sort of workplace competition. And the first proposed competition is in flower arrangement. We're starting off with a bang.
Very exciting.
Yeah. So both Aruto and Izu and Guy, Zaya and Hedon go off to recruit their champions for the competition, right? So Izu and Aruto go and get this florist Humagear whose name is Ichirin Sakuyo, who is a Humagear that's a florist, and she knows how to grow and raise flowers, but she openly admits to them that she knows jack about floral arrangement. So then Izu proposes that they go back to Zaya so that she can just quick learn from Zaya. She'll hook her up to Zaya and she'll just matrix the information into her. Meanwhile, Guy goes and recruits a grand master of floral arrangement from the Tachibana school. So this guy Tachibana is like a grand master of floral arrangement. And we kind of immediately see that he's kind of a dick.
Just a bit.
And then a Magia attacks. So just to remind us that, Magia is still a thing. There's a Magia attack. 0-1 fights it off pretty easily, but then notices that, wait a second, there's no belt, there's no Zetsume Rise key on this thing, so something else must be turning these Magia. And then the floral arrangement showdown begins, and somehow it's like emceed by Yua, who I thought would have like more responsibilities at Zaya rather than just being guy's bitch, but whatever. And
Naruto even points that out.
yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah. Like, oh, is this what he has you doing?
Yeah. And the competition takes place, and it's not revealed, but it immediately to us it looked like Tachibana cheated. And Sakuya confronts him, saying that his work and his heart is repulsive, so she just throws shade on him there. Tachibana gets pissed and pushes her to the ground, and then that becomes a trigger for her. Well, actually, we see Arc. Well, that's like a trigger for Arc to connect to her and turn her into a Magia.
Yeah.
So she starts rampaging. Aruto henshins and tries to like reason with her using Flying Falcon. He's just kind of like holding back with her and being like, "Hey, Sakuya-chan, like get a hold, like what's going on?" Then Guy comes in and henshins for the first time into Kamen Rider Thouser, and we're gonna go in depth about that, I'm sure. Thouser winds up defeating Sakuya pretty easily, then kicks Aruto's ass, and then gives a speech about how he actually, once he defeats Aruto, gives a speech about how he admired his grandfather, Koronosuke, but disagreed with his methods and his views on AI. And at the end, we see a hooded figure walking out of Zaya, basically having stolen a belt and a Progrise key from Zaya, supposedly. That's the episode.
When the five horns cross, the Golden Warrior Thouser is born.
I think it's Golden Soldier.
It is Golden Soldier.
Yeah,
Is it really?
I have it written down. When the five horns cross, the Golden Soldier Thouser is born.
I've been
Presented
thinking
by
this whole
Zaya.
week that it was Warrior.
Presented by Zaya.
Yeah, it's so self-promoting. I love it so much.
It's
I've never seen that
also-
before.
It's also Perfect Rise.
It is Perfect Rise.
Yeah. It's just so self-aggrandizing. His whole
It
thing.
is Soldier.
Yeah, I told you.
I got that wrong.
I think we talked about all of the stuff I have notes for. The Zaya specs are pretty cool. They're basically Google Glass, but like functional and cool.
I've got a whole bunch of stuff, by the way.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I
Go
do
for
too.
it.
I have a million notes as well.
Izu making the pun with will arrange a meeting with Zaya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aruto Janaito.
I have Izu made a joke all in caps with 17 exclamation marks.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about last episode, Ray. Izu's definitely like starting to learn how to make shitty jokes on her own. And Aruto's all for it.
Well, Aruto's just like, oh man, I'm rubbing off on her.
That's right.
We also get in this episode, Hirobi reactivates and gets interrogated by Fua.
Yeah.
Or that interrogation begins.
That's in this episode?
I think
It is.
so, yeah.
It is. And Hirobi tells him that humans are responsible for making the robot uprising happen. Case in point, why was I fixed? So that kind of gets into Fua's head being like, you're kind of right there.
Yeah.
And I have as a note, Tachibana cheated, which it's not unveiled until next episode, but it's just obvious, right?
Yeah,
Because
I have the same thing. Like, obviously the guy cheated.
yeah, Sakuya's reaction to his work is hideous when all the judges are like, it's good. It's probably like because her saying that, it's a reflection of his heart. And since his heart is like,
It's also the way
tainted.
as soon as just as she's about to accuse him, he like pushes her so that she stops talking.
And also, like, after they unveil the pieces and the judges decide, he like goes over and takes out the one piece. He's like, this piece ruined the whole thing.
Yeah, he knew
it's, like,
exactly
obviously-
what the problem was. Yeah.
so they don't actually like tell us. There's no exposition to tell us that this is how Magia are now coming into effect, but they kind of illustrate it pretty clearly, and it becomes obvious when Sakuya turns into a Magia that once they have that negative singularity, once they like come to a realization that humans are assholes, that gives enough of an opening for Arc to connect, because you get a shot of Arc glowing red and then
Yeah.
connecting
Mhm.
and then turning them into Magia. So that's the trigger. It's not stated outright, but it is stated outright in case we didn't in case you didn't piece it together in later episodes. I think Guy has a moment where he like explains to the camera what's happening.
I think Izu actually like scans the Humagear flower person, and it's like, oh, nothing was done to her, or like something about her code being overwritten at the moment of that
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
and
And
tells
then
her.
she's supposed to scan other Humagear for that stuff.
So yeah,
I
they're being wirelessly hacked and overwritten.
And I have one note, 1,000 Jacker exclamation point.
I also
Yeah.
have Thousand Jacker and
Yeah,
Jack Rise
and
Yep.
jacking
and
break.
Jacking Break.
Yeah, well, Thouser's whole thing is he like uses his sword to jack the powers of the other
He
keys
explains
that
it as
people are
he's
using.
he explains it as he's stealing their technology.
Yeah,
So he's,
but so
he's
it's
jacking it.
yeah, but it's just
I assume.
ooh,
It's the
Yeah, so
only
when
way I can
Thouser
explain it.
pumps the 1,000 Jacker,
Yeah,
he does the Jack
he
Rise.
does the Jack Rise
and then shoots the power that he stole all over the enemy and
as a
kills
jack.
them.
Yeah, for Jacking Break.
Which is kind of, I don't want to say lazy, but it is just like a
It's-
CGI like
Oh.
output of whatever animal he jacked
Yeah.
in the jacking break.
I was gonna say it's also another point for he just rides off other people's success
Mm-hmm.
because he's literally just taking somebody else's thing and then using it to defeat somebody else.
I thought he would like steal the power and then it would incorporate into his form, and then he'd have powers based off that for like.
I thought that was going to be the case too, and I thought it was going to be very cool. That's why I said it was lazy. That it's just kind of like a beam.
He's not that creative. He doesn't come up with his own ideas. Right? His whole costume design is just, it's basically 01, but it's white instead of black, and then it's got gold and black like trim and accessories, and then purple eyes. It's the same like basic design.
But it is true, like he didn't even make his own system. It's a combination of the rider system, the progress system, and the Zetsume Rise system.
Yeah, it's just those two things. Clash. He uses two keys. He uses a progress key and a Zetsume.
I will say it's pretty cool when the two animals like come down and the horns actually clash.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
When the five horns cross.
Yeah.
And even the way his driver says Zetsumetsu Evolution is pretty cool.
I had that written down too. Zetsumetsu Evolution.
Presented by Zaya Enterprise.
Just presented by Zaya.
Oh, whatever. Everything, and also the trademark, the Zaya trademark in every
it's got all
finisher.
The copyrights and everything. Yeah, it's so good. It's really funny. But yeah, I think that whole thing is another point towards he just kind of rides off of other people's successes and then lazily uses them. I also have written down, it's not like expressly said, but Guy is jealous of Aruto. Just from the way he talks about Aruto getting control of the company, how he is idolizing, or how Guy is idolized or has idolized Aruto's grandfather. It's like it sounds like he's pretty jealous of Aruto. Just the language and the tone of his voice when he talks about it. He's jealous that Aruto got control of Hiden instead of him.
He also has this obsession where the whole point of this fight was almost for him to be like, my device, like Thouser is stronger than 01. I've done it.
My device, yeah. Yeah. I just want to punch him in the face, and I feel bad too because it's not the actor's fault. But if
No,
ever
he's
No,
good.
It's a good thing that you want to punch him in the
if I
face.
ever
That's what he's
saw
going
the
for.
actor on the street, I'd still want to like punch him in the face. Is the problem?
It means he's a good actor.
Yeah, no, he's great.
So it is the
Just-
actor's fault.
I guess, yeah. It's not the actor's. I guess it is his fault that I hate him, but it's the character that he's playing's fault also. Time for episode 18.
All right, episode 18. So episode 18 starts off with Izu and Naruto restoring Sakuya from a backup, which we actually have never seen before because and it's explained that when the human gears are hacked by Metsubo Jinrai, you can't actually do that. But in this case, she actually wasn't hacked. So they're able to restore her from a backup. And once she's restored, she reveals that Tachibana cheated to Aruto. Aruto then confronts Tachibana and Guy. And Guy's also kind of pissed too. It seems like he wants to crush Hedon, but he doesn't want to ruin his own image in the process. Image is important to him too. So we get to know Guy a little bit more over tea with Izu and Aruto. And we keep coming back to that tea house at the rooftop there.
Yeah, it's the same place every time.
Which I thought was actually pretty funny because like he just like not 5 minutes before in the previous episode, we have him using like a finisher and kicking Aruto's ass,
Yeah.
and now they're just sitting
They're just kind
all
of
civil,
calmly having tea. Yeah.
having tea. But that's the CEO life, apparently. So we get to know Guy a little bit more over that conversation, though. So we actually kind of have this lens into his character where he actually makes a statement with his beliefs, and he says that he doesn't think AI should coexist with humans, but that they should be a stepping stone towards their evolution. Like that's basically what he says. And we also find out that he doesn't age.
Yes, he reveals that he worked with Naruto's grandfather. I tried to remember his name and it just didn't come to me. He shows them like a picture of them like
12 years ago.
Yeah, 12 years ago, and he looks exactly the same. And Naruto is like, how like what?
Yeah, he's like, I'm eternally 25.
Yeah, 24.
24?
Yeah,
Okay.
24. And then Izu scans him and says that he's actually 45 years old.
Actually 45, and he just kind of walks off.
Yeah.
He gets pissed.
and then we cut to some fighting action between Fua and Yua because
continue.
Because Fua wants to know why they reactivated Hirobi, so he's thinking Yua betrayed them. And so there's this cool clash between Vulcan and Valkyrie, and Vulcan comes out on top, Fua comes out on top, and he's gonna take Yua in, but then Guy comes skidding in with his SUV, comes out and comes in to protect Yua, and kicks base Vulcan's ass.
Yeah.
As Thouser. Then Fua pulls out all the stops in Assault Wolf mode, but then still
gets beat.
Doesn't quite make it, and Guy winds up leaving with Yua.
Can I read my notes for this part of the episode?
Go ahead.
So it starts with Fua confronts Yaiba. Then now they fight. I wish they would just kiss already. Here comes Guy to ruin everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
It really did feel like that, actually. Although I will say during that whole sequence, since we're already talking about it, when he did go Assault Wolf mode, I really for a second believed that he was going to kick Bowser's ass because he unleashed one hell of a combo on him and then went on the ground, kind of gave him a couple of gut shots with the gun.
Yeah.
And you saw Bowser actually get pushed back a little bit, but then it turns out that he just kind of brushed it off. But man, that was a cool action sequence.
It was a good fight.
With how much Aruto got his ass kicked, I did not expect Fua to stand a chance at all.
It
Also,
just seemed pretty, impactful what he did in the moment.
I'm pretty sure it's happened by now, but Aruto did get his own assault grip.
That's the next line, yeah. So
Okay.
when that fight happens, meanwhile, Izu grabs a new assault grip out of the 3D printer for Aruto to use, so we can avoid the whole Tattle Fantasy Bang Bang Simulation fiasco of X8. It's almost like the writer knew,
he
you know what, I'm not
out...
doing that again.
He figured out what the issue was before and he rectified it this time.
Yeah, because that's exactly like every time in Xaid when that happened, we're like, man,
Yeah.
we're never gonna see Tattle Fantasy again. So yeah, that was the next line. And then I have Tachibana's nervous for the rematch because they propose to have a rematch because, you know, Guy's not cool with him cheating. So he's nervous for the rematch because he thinks that that Sakuya has a chance of beating him.
Yeah.
And he has a breakdown. At which point our hooded figure shows up and slaps him with a belt and gives him the Buffalo Progress key. And before the flower rematch can happen, as soon as Tachibana comes into the competition, he just like sees Sakuya and he's like enraged at the sight of her because he remembers like those cold words that she dropped on him. And he henshins into a raider, which the term is actually not given to us yet. Like we're supposed to assume that these are human Magia for now, but we find out that they're raiders later on.
It does say like raid rise.
The
when he
belt
puts
says raid rise, yeah.
It does say raid rise.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and starts rampaging. At which point Aruto and Guy both henshin, and there's like this three-way fight, which becomes like a common thing that happens in the episodes that follow. There's like a three-way fight between like Aruto, Thouser, and the Raider.
Yeah. Haruto trying not to not hurt the person that's been henshined too bad, and Bowser or Guy just being like, no, I'm gonna defeat him. Obviously.
So this is you know, in this case it ain't just a machine that can be restored from backup. That's a dude in there, you know.
Yeah.
It's a guy.
So exactly. So Aruto's, you know, not trying to kill this guy. He's like, dude, you're gonna kill him. Don't you know? Don't attack him too hard. But it's Thouser, so he kind of brushes off 0-1 and winds up defeating both 0-1 and the Buffalo Raider. And it turns out that Tachibana is actually okay. He you know
somehow survives.
Snaps out of it after he gets hit with the 1,000 break. And Guy kind of walks off and says, well, I guess we need to postpone the flower arrangement rematch. And in the end, they do wind up having a rematch on another day. And this time, Tachibana wins again, fair and square. And it's implied that he has become a better person after his interactions with Sakuya too, because her whole AI learning that she did was from Zaya was actually from his school, and that you know that had like an impact on him too. So
he's
then
no longer racist against Humagears.
Yeah. So then Aruto's actually fine with that loss. He's like, you know what, we lost, but you know this is the way. If you're gonna lose, this is a way to do it, kind of thing. And then at the end of the episode, Fuo winds up interrogating Hirobi further, and he implies that he still has a comrade out there and divulges info about the raid riser, basically. Well, that's the episode.
Oh yeah, we get that scene where like the person is like behind Fuwa and he gets all freaked out.
Yeah. Turns around and they're gone.
Yeah. For Metsubo Jinrai, actually, when the Ames people were analyzing their name and figured out that it's made up of 4 different kanji or whatever, it was we've only ever seen 3 members.
Yeah, we're missing a member.
So it stands to logic that this might be the 4th member going around putting the raid risers on people.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but for some reason I had like a visceral reaction when the dude turned into the raider, like because the whole season it's been only the Humagear turning into Magia, and it was like I know it's a thing in all other Kamen Rider I've seen. It's like a common thing where people get turned into monsters, defeated, and then they're saved. But for some reason now it was like I'm so used to the Humagear, I was like, shit, this is not right. That's fucked up. But it's I don't know.
I have humans being hacked ? Because they just did it the same way. At least to Tachibana, they did it the same way they would do it to the Humagears. So it just looks like they're hacking humans, which is weird.
Yeah.
Actually wondering, does it only work because of the Zaya spec? Like if you're not connected to AI with the Zaya spec, can you still turn into a raider? I don't know.
That's a good point. Who knows, really?
Yeah.
That could be the link that lets them like get messed with. It's either that or they're just playing off of their like emotions because the dude was having a panic attack and like was vulnerable.
I will say you will find the answer to that question.
I figured.
That's all I'll say about it, because I know the answers. I know all the answers.
My one note for this episode is
Mhm.
the Buffalo Progress key henshin. So it starts with blow.
Mm.
And then he actually, like, the Raiders actually have a text to speech too. So it's this charge attack will send you flying.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't get any
because
of
they're
that
actually
down.
like more legitimately henching
Yeah,
like that.
it's not a force rise, it's a raid rise, so it's
Raid rise. Mhm.
no there's no forced transformation. It seemed
No,
like that for Tachibana.
isn't the Force Rise what Jin and Hirobi did?
Yeah, but also the Metsu
The Magia was just Setsume Rise.
Zetsume, that's the one. They were hacked.
Yeah, and it didn't. It was just it would say Zetsume Rise, and then they become whatever
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah. We didn't mention that guy called Fua stray dog,
True, he did do that.
which is hurtful.
Right after his defeat.
Yeah. He's a wolf, not a stray dog.
Well, he did
wolf.
call him wolf and then changed his mind and said, or should I say stray dog?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's even
Yeah.
more insulting.
God, I can't wait to see Fua get stronger and kick guys' ass.
I can't wait
If
to
that-
see literally any person get stronger and kick guys' ass. It doesn't have to be Fua or Aruto. It could be anybody.
It'd be
would
really
be-
satisfying if it
that
was
be?
Yaiba too. She
Oh, yeah.
finally
That would
gets
be
her shit
great.
together and
Mhm.
realizes that
That's
guy sucks.
That's another thing that I think people, and I didn't see it at first, but now that I'm rewatching it, that people didn't like about like this arc specifically is that it feels like Yaiba is now not doing anything, and she's just kind of like there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess she had the fight with Fua, but it was like,
And Fua comes out on top.
yeah,
But I mean, it didn't feel like Fua dominated that fight either,
No.
though. It felt like that could have gone either way.
no, but I think it's more like Yaiba doesn't have her own agency anymore. Now she's just doing whatever Guy tells her to do. Like,
Yeah.
she's not making her own decisions, which I get. Like, it sucks because she was a cool character, but now she's the host of this floral design contest instead of the head of technology at Ames. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like they downgraded her role as a character a little bit when she left Ames.
I get people not liking the tournament arc aspect of it. Also, like I think part of it is watching it as it airs, like one episode a week, and
Mhm.
you get half of a round of a tournament each episode. Like I could see that being grating and not
That's
the
true.
best. I think the speed at which we're watching it, we're not going to take too long to get through it, so it's not going to have that much of an impact on us.
I
So
I binged through it the first time I watched it too.
Yeah, I think that helps.
I think just watching through this chunk of episodes and diving into this arc after the previous one too, because remember our 4-episode chunk that we watched like
Last week,
Yeah.
last podcast? And
it
now
was amazing.
this one.
Yeah, there was
Yeah, but look
so
at just
much in
straight
those
pace,
episodes.
right? Just look at the straight pacing of how everything was going, and things were moving, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then we
that's-
get into this arc, and the pace is just completely different.
yeah.
it slowed down a lot.
Yeah, they pump the brakes on it,
Mhm.
and they stick to the 2-part formula for this arc that we got introduced to in the last arc, but it seems to drag on a little bit longer in this one, as we go into episode 19 too, because there's a lot of like going through the same motions and the same beats that I'm finding between, like, so we had 17 and 18, which was like the floral arrangement 2-parter
Mhm.
for the Battle of the Jobs. And then if you guys want, we can jump into like 19. I don't have like a summary for 19, but it basically follows the same formula. It follows the same beats.
I have a pretty good summary for 19. I mean,
You
like
wanna go ahead
I
with it?
remember like the big just off the top of my head, I know all of the big events that happen. So they announced the second round is going to be real estate.
Very exciting.
Yeah, super
Real estate
exciting.
off, yeah.
So it's whichever company can create the most profit from selling homes, essentially. So, Guy and Izu recruit a Humagear named. They call her Smile. Her name is Smile. I forget what her given name is though. I don't have it written down. But her name is Smile, and she's always smiling. The Zaya recruits another real estate agent, but he's like a young like upstart who's already super good at selling homes. He he's very cocky.
It's Smile Sumida. Sumida Smile.
Sumida Smile, that's it. The Zaya representative, he's super cocky, he's a young upstart. He's already very good at selling homes. So they recruit him, and he's very arrogant about his abilities, and also kind of racist against Humagear, which I guess is a theme in the show.
Yeah, well, especially with the competitions, it seems it's always like, oh, a human gear can't do my job as well as I can with these fancy glasses.
It's the nature, I guess, of the arc is it's humans versus AI.
Yeah, so the Zaya representative I have his name too, Tatsumi Ariashiki.
That's the one. So they start their competition, and they're both pretty neck and neck. We see 2 or 3 times, I think, during the episode that they're selling houses and making profits at pretty much the same pace, which pisses Guy off a lot. And then later on in the episode, what's his name? The Ariashiki gets confronted by the hooded figure working with Hirobi, and he gets given the Raid Riser and key. It's not forcefully like shoved on him. He's kind of just given.
But it's also worth noting that at this point he's also kind of freaking out because Guy's pissed at him and he doesn't want to lose. And Guy's like, well, you better not, or else, bad stuff.
One thing I do want to mention is that at one point while Fua is interrogating Hirobi, Hirobi does divulge to him that follow the raiders and you'll get to what you seek. So it actually kind of leads Fua to Ariashiki at some point.
Fair. So Ariashiki gets the belt and the driver. The belt and the key, and then he is kind of stalking Smile selling a home.
Yeah.
And he's watching her do it, and he decides to transform. He's hidden, but he transforms, and then he starts destroying the home that she's trying to sell.
Can we talk about his raider henchman though? Because he's got like the whale key, flashing whale key, I think.
Right, yeah. It looks so cool though.
That raider form looks awesome. It kind of has like a knight look to it. It's got these like tubes coming out of the chest. And his text to speech is also awesome. An aqua current that encompasses everything around it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
He's also he's got a weapon. Like his weapon is a big fan that looks like a whale's fin, and he uses that to like shoot water currents at the house, and he starts destroying it. And like they're literally outside of the house watching this happen, and like it's crumbling above them, and he's
definitely more in control of his power than the previous guy was, and he's using it to sabotage Smile, basically.
Yeah, Tachibana seemed completely but he was already like not doing it. So it's hard to say if that was due to the Raid Riser or not. I guess because this guy is very much in control of what he's doing and conscious of his decisions. Towards the end of the episode, he confronts them again, like the next day or something, but this time as himself. Just after Smile closes a deal with the family, he starts berating her and like talking to the family. I guess it's like an older couple, And he starts saying like, why would you buy a home from a humagear? They don't have a heart. They don't understand what a home is like.
They don't sleep in a bed.
They don't sleep in
do
a bed.
this.
Yeah, they don't shower, all that stuff. And then he starts just like pulling her and shoving her and like yelling at her, and then he brings her to a fountain and he throws her in the fountain, and is just yelling at her for being a humagear. And then that's when she goes berserk, becomes another Magia.
Yeah, and when that happened, I think we were all like, well, I don't blame her.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she's clearly getting harassed by this man. Like, yeah, of course she's gonna get upset.
I think she becomes the squid.
She becomes the
Yeah,
squid
she becomes
Magia.
the squid
But you know
Magia.
what? One of the sad things about this is like she turns into the squid Magia, and unlike any of the other like Magia rampages that I've seen, she actually doesn't wind up like really attacking anything. She just kind of winds up like throwing a fit, like
Yeah,
attacking the
she's
ground.
just upset, yeah.
And then Aruto's just kind of like holding her back, but she's not like actually actively like hurting anyone. Even after she gets
the thing that bothered me, and it's I guess it's more of like a filming or decision or something. It's just that like Aruto was constantly trying to get the guy off of her, and he just couldn't somehow. And I was just saying like, there's no way this guy is stronger than Aruto, or Aruto can't like pry Smile out of this dude's hands. Like, this just doesn't feel right. That's the only thing that bothered me. It didn't feel realistic, I guess. But like, I guess without it, like, where's the episode, right? So
yeah.
that was the only thing, though. Otherwise, like, I just felt bad for Smile. She absolutely did not deserve that that treatment at all. Do you guys have any notes? I have lots of notes that I didn't talk about, actually.
I've got a few.
I don't have a note, just that sick joke I made when we were watching, and I said, if the Arashiki, what's his name? If he was a Kamen Rider, would his name be Kamen Rider Hauser?
It's still good.
It's still pretty
Even the
good.
second time hearing it. Jesse Janaito.
So I have, why does Zaya choose all of the competitions? Why does Guy get to choose what they compete in?
Well, it's his terms. I mean, like, he's the one that's saying,
I guess
I'll stop my takeover bid if you win this competition.
it
So
still feels like he has an unfair advantage. I don't know.
I mean, he does, but it's kind of like he can do what he wants, basically.
Yeah,
he's holding all the cards in this situation.
It's frustrating, I guess, more than anything. We also, I forgot to mention, we find out that Hirobi is no longer connected to Metsubojinrai.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost his connection to Metsubojinrai, which is just like, I guess it's like a big reveal, but it doesn't impact the episode hugely, but it is like something of note.
See, I assumed that was the case because even like since when he woke up, his eyes were blue, and I think I've only ever seen his eyes as red before. So I think when you're connected to Metsubojinrai, your eyes might be red as a Humagear, and then when they're blue, it might mean that you're taking off towards a dream, or you're
I was
your
gonna
own man.
say that.
Probably
too.
right, yeah.
I have
Mm-hmm.
in the combat between the Whale Raider and our protagonists,
Yeah.
we see Rising Hopper for the first time in what seems forever. And Rising Hopper actually gets kind of defeated by the Whale Raider, which gives Fua a chance to come in and go full throttle.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it gets to sell some toys, I haven't seen Rising Hopper in a while. Gotta remind everyone to buy those Rising Hopper figures.
I have wrist blasters Pog, because we see Fua use wrist blasters to shoot the whale man.
Yeah, he's got sick ass wrist guns.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we see them, and they're really freaking cool.
I also have written that Arayashiki is an interesting but problematic character, because so he actually winds up having this really kind of profound moment where Guy is also seemingly manipulating Arayashiki too, it seems like Guy might be the trigger and might be doing it on purpose to kind of piss Ariashki enough to go and bully Sumida's smile in that final moment there, where he does kind of like cryptically say something to Yua, where he says that, you know,
Do you mean
I know that if we, you know, there's malice inside of humans, and if that malice is contagious, and we can get that malice to manifest itself in the human gear. So he kind of like says that after he kind of puts the pressure on Ariashki before Ariashki goes out. But Ariashki has this moment prior to that where he tells Guy in like a desperate like panic, like, do you know what's going to happen to my whole industry if human gears take hold? They don't need to get paid.
yeah,
You know, they don't need to train anybody.
it's like a combination of anger and worry.
And worry. So, you know, for him, it's he's got something really on the line here. And why I have him as a problematic character is he has this moment where he's just kind of leaning back and listening to like country rock. And one of his colleagues is like, hey, what is like, why'd you get into real estate? What does real estate mean to you? Which is supposed to like, I think, warm us up to the character.
Yeah, it's I have it. Make the shitty guy look sympathetic.
Yeah, and he has this like really brief thing where he says, well, I grew up in a shitty house and I've always like, you know, houses are like
They
dreams,
had,
right?
yeah,
And all
one
those
room.
things.
He had to share his bed with his whole family.
But
They lived
then
next to a train.
Yeah, but then the bullying at the end was just so bad that
Yeah.
it like completely erases
Yeah,
any
the-
humanity that the character might have had otherwise.
Zero sympathy, like for sure. He didn't learn anything. He has this one like sort of tragic memory, but it's completely overshadowed by the fact that he's just not a good person.
Not at all. Not at all.
Absolutely.
This is a complete tangent, but Nick's explanation of this, like recount of what Guy said and whatnot, made me realize that this plot line is actually super similar to Tales of Berseria, the game. How the malice in humans turn them into demons, and then the main bad guy is using that to as an excuse that humans suck and that he's got to get rid of all the humans so that the world can
There's
prosper
definitely
properly.
parallels.
It's like
there, yeah.
literally the same thing, except it's Guy trying to make the robots look bad so that humans can
Right.
live without the robots.
Yeah.
I thought I just put that together. Pretty cool.
Oh, since we're already on a tangent, I don't know where else I would fit this in, but I have a bullet point. Carpenter, Human Gear, Pog.
Oh, that guy was awesome.
Yeah. No spoilers. He's a recurring character.
It was just like, oh, this guy keeps breaking all our houses, and now we can't sell them. And they're like, oh, don't worry, you got this sick carpenter human gear who's gonna fix all the
Yeah,
houses before you sell them.
he's great. He's
Oh yeah,
really
Kata,
fun.
I think was his name. He was
Yeah.
awesome.
He's really great. More tangents. I have a bullet point. Is Guy a cyborg?
You think he's full Utsumi? Oh, spoilers.
Well, I think that's what we were talking about, right? I don't remember
Yeah.
how it came up though.
I think it's because I said it might be an Utsumi
Yeah,
situation.
you did
Yeah,
say that. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
It would explain his not aging, that's for sure. But also
that's
the fact that he
Mhm.
could be a cyborg, I guess. But it doesn't seem right because of the way how he wants. Oh no, it would make sense actually, because his whole thing is how they should use the AI to further evolve humans. So maybe becoming cyborgs is the evolution of the human species that he sees.
I will
Could make
say
sense.
The Zaya spec is basically, you know.
Yeah.
I will say it might be weird to have a character be revealed to be a cyborg after the last villain was revealed to be Humagears when we thought they were humans. So like I don't know if that's like good or bad. If you would consider that good or bad.
I mean, to be fair, I almost never thought they were humans. The Jin and Hirobi.
I guess so.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be fine. It like I said, it kind of actually makes sense.
There's
for
always
his-
that possibility.
His motives.
Now, this is the like last episode that we watched, and before we get into the rest of the notes for this one, I just want to say,
Mhm.
I can already kind of understand like potentially people complaining about a pacing issue for this
Yeah.
arc, because you know now we have this two-parter formula that seems to be looping. I mean, we only kind of got through 1.5 of the competitions. But if there's going to be 5 of these things and each one of them is going to be a 2-parter, I'm simply counting 10 episodes of this, which is actually getting kind of formulaic, because even this episode 19 plays a lot of the same beats as the florist episode. Like we have like the tea scene between Guy and Naruto and Izu. We have the human getting turned into a raider. We have the trying to screw with the Humagear turning into a Magia. Like all of the same motions that we're going through with this 2-parter compared to the last 2-parter. I mean, if that is going to repeat itself 5 times, I think that can get old. But I'm hoping that either something happens to break the formula or interrupt the jobs competition, take us in a completely different direction, or that there's just a twist to that formula. Because if it's just going to be rinse and repeat for 10 episodes, I can see this getting a little bit stale.
I legitimately don't remember if they do all 5 rounds or not. I remember, I think it's the next competition. I remember what it is. I can't remember what the other 2 would be.
I know the next one is too, because I saw the title of episode 21 while I'm on Wikipedia right now.
So yeah, the next thing I can remember that takes place after like this arc, I can't place in the timeline when it happens, if it takes place after all 5 rounds or if it's in the middle and interrupts.
Oh my god, my hair.
The competition, because I cannot remember for the life of me what the other 2 competitions are. Oh, never mind. I remember.
Okay, either way, you guys got any more notes for this episode?
I got mad when Arashiki, after he bullied Smile and she transformed into a Magia, he had the balls to be scared of her. I'm so mad about that. Yeah. I'm still mad about that. Especially when he has the Raid Riser, like, anyway. Don't give me that nonsense that you're all of a sudden scared because you bullied somebody into being angry.
Fucking Hauser.
Fucking Hauser, dude.
This is also the second time in a row that the fight gets concluded with Thouser coming in, brushing off 0-1, and taking care of the threat.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess Thouser's still relatively new, so you're still trying to push the toys and that character.
Well, it's also, again, kind of makes me think back to X8 and Gen, how every time there was a bugster, he'd always show up and ruin the fight. And it happened every time at the beginning. Yeah. Until he was dealt with. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess but it didn't take that long, I feel like.
It was a while. It happened a lot.
Perfect. So we'll call it there. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate we really appreciate everybody who watches this. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to us. We're still working on the format, making sure we stick to a strict timeline. But I appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. It means a lot to us. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to watch us film this live, we stream it every Sunday, 5 p.m. EST on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/agiantrobot. So come and hang out with us while we film live. And if you're watching right now on Twitch and you want to know when it goes up on YouTube, they go up every week on Thursday at 1 p.m. EST. So thank you two for hanging out with me and talking about Kamen Rider. Thank everybody for watching. Once again, we appreciate you all, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.